Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit is happy here back again with Hunter x Hunter. We are on episode 45 and we are continuing on with the sort of the brutal nature that Hunter x Hunter has now turned into. But yeah, there's not really a lot that I basically need to talk about in this sort of pre-opening intro sort of section because it's pretty straightforward and there's not a lot like. Was there any theories that I had? I think after Uvo destroyed those four shadow beasts, really, the only one that was really left alive at the end was Worm, though I do think he did actually succumb to his injuries in the end. That he may have gotten the call out or whatever to basically say that this, like, they're dangerous. We're going to need all of the shadow beasts. But yeah, the way that he did say it, I remember now talking in the post discussion for the end of last episode. It would have been episode 44. And in the post discussion, I did mention that like previously I'd thought that there was only 10 shadow beasts, like one for each Don, and being like the best fighter or whatever. But now, seemingly the way that he was, like the way that Worm sort of described it, or at least it was in the subtitles, that there are more than like 10 altogether. I mean, because otherwise there would only be 6 more, and unless they're like a level above these shadow beasts that just got demolished, then I'd have to assume that there are more than 10 altogether. So yeah. And yeah, other than that, we also had Kurapika, who has used his chains. We now understand the reason why he chose those over, like, for instance, a sword or a spear or a lance or something like that. Basically to chain up the Phantom Troupe, and he has put a sort of a clause within a sort of contract with the chains themselves, a condition that he's only able to use it on the Phantom Troupe, and if he was to use it on anybody else, his heart would stop and die. So that ultimately makes the sort of the ability a hell of a lot stronger than it would normally be, because of the risk involved, which is very interesting, very cool. I really want to see how that sort of plays out. Like, how do you, how would you go about putting that condition in place? I don't know. There has to be something fucking more going on that hasn't really been sort of described to us yet. We could use some exposition on that. But yeah. So other than that, I believe, what is her name? I think it's Machi. Correct me if I'm wrong. But she used a trace on Uvo before he got away. So wherever it is they're going, they're gonna follow, right? They're gonna follow to get Uvo back, which is bad. I'm just hoping that they don't go back to that mansion, the Nostrade sort of mansion where Neon is, because yeah, that would be bad. Especially considering how many fucking of the Phantom Troupe are actually there. And Uvo is, the only one we've really seen in action, like, pretty extensively, I would say. We know what some of the other ones are like, but they're dangerous. They're dangerous, and they have shown us that. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about anyway. I'm going to stop rambling and get in episode 45. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 45. Damn. Alright, so I guess I was originally right then about the Shadow Beasts only having 10, and it was 1 per Don, really, which they were very, very underwhelming. Like, I'm sure, like, in their own right, they're strong, but compared to the Phantom Troupe, they're just nowhere near. Which is kind of, I don't know, it's odd. I suppose we just don't know, like, at this point, you don't know enough about the world to kind of, because I'd have to assume that, like, I was just thinking, like, alright, 10 Dons of the world, they all control a territory of the world. I guess with it being like hunters and stuff, I don't know if they've actually explored, like, the whole world, or at least like the major land masses or whatnot. But it seems like, because they like, each Don controls, like, essentially, from what I know, if it is the whole world, they all control a piece of territory, which you would think, at least in the sort of like the underground sort of world, they rule the world, or at least a big fucking, like, I'd have to assume, like, their dealings are, like, so major like in the world, and the fact is that their best fighters are no match for the Phantom Troupe. It just like I'm just thinking like I was expecting them to be of a higher caliber, at least put up some fight. They just didn't though. Anything that is basically not capturing people by surprise, or at least the Phantom Troupe members anyway, then they just don't have a chance. I'd be interested to see like how Shizuku would have fought those guys, because it seemed like, well, she only like, you know, smashed Beze in the back of the head. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like, I don't think we've seen the like full extent of what her abilities can do, because the whole blinky thing, sucking up things, I don't know to what degree that can be used as a weapon other than just smashing people with it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's it then. Unless there are more Shadow Beasts, I don't know. Or if it's possible for them to be replaced, I'd imagine so. But they'd probably have to go out and like get better fighters, because they were very underwhelming. But that's the thing. I don't think saying underwhelming is sort of like the correct term. I think it was underwhelming in my head, just from the perspective of watching them just get absolutely decimated. You know what I mean? But I'm sure to like a lot of people, like, you know, Shadow Beasts by themselves might be able to take out like, you know, a lot of the other guys that we've seen. You know, maybe even like our group right now. I don't know. Interesting though. So yeah, the one guy, the guy who had the shrink cloth. It's such an interesting sort of thing. And again, like I would struggle to sort of ascertain what skill that is. You know. Because if it's just like, I mean, it could be a transmuter, I guess, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to like, you know, ascertain what the different, like how I can properly tell what skill something is, generally by how it works. But the fact is, because it's shrunk, I'd imagine it would have to be a transmuter and nothing else. But yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. Well, actually, first of all, once they got rid of the Phantom Troupe members that were following them, they said that they were going to Pattern C. So they did have different sort of locations to take them to. Though I guess they were always going to really use the like the muscle relaxant and sleeping gas and paralytic gas and whatever the hell it was. Which later on, I did like figure out, oh, that's the reason why he couldn't just break out. But the interesting thing was when he was making it, like with Uvo making a deal, basically saying, look, like you have nothing to do with me of like what I'm trying to accomplish here, because you yourselves don't know about the, you know, the location of the fucking auction, like goods and stuff and all of that. So yeah, they could have easily just have gotten away if they just did let him out. But of course, we all know Kurapika was just not going to let that happen. I mean, Kurapika's sole purpose surrounding this has got nothing to do with getting goods and auctioning goods and stuff. He just wants the revenge, right? So, so yeah, I mean, I figured Uvo was making a deal purely off the basis that, you know, if the other Phantom Troupe members weren't going to get there in time, like Uvo was going to die. Like he was just going to die because he couldn't move with the paralytic gas, and if he'd stayed there, I don't know for how much longer. I'm sure the leeches and eggs and whatnot would have gotten in there, right? I don't think Shizuku got them all out before he. Like that's why they had to go after him like straight away, right? Because he would die shortly. So yeah, I believe like Uvo, the reason why Melody was like, oh, I think he's serious, was basically around, was, you know, because he was serious about I'll let you live if I get out, because it's the only way that I can be certain that I'm going to live. But also the fact that, I don't know, I mean, there was something about him being like, that maybe I think he might have honoured that if they did let him go and he would have just left. But I don't know. I just don't know. He might have wanted them to think that way. You know, he might just have a good poker face, and I don't know. I mean, he is part of the Phantom Troupe, which is, you know what I mean? So, a lot of them have poker faces. Especially Shalnark. I mean, that guy's got like, you know what I mean? He's got the happiest face in the world. You know what I mean? He looks like the least dangerous person. But he has this like this puppeteering sort of mechanic, which is interesting. That he sort of like, I figured that the guy was dead. You see, it could be one or two things with Shalnark's ability there. It could have, the Mafia guy could have already been dead, and he could have injected him with that thing, and then essentially he's controlling him via being connected to Shalnark himself, and that's how he's puppeteering him. Though I don't know. I'm actually, you know what? I'm more inclined to believe that the guy was alive, and that by sort of injecting him with that sort of dart or whatever, it was something that the guy couldn't feel, the Mafia guy. And then once Shalnark had got all the information that he did, he basically like pushed a bunch of buttons or whatever into his phone that basically like deactivated his brain or something, and he just fell over and died. I'm probably more, I think that's more likely, right? Because then otherwise I don't understand why Shalnark would have been like out of the room and you know, hiding behind a door. I feel like he would have been right there. So yeah, I think the Mafia guy was alive, and he just didn't feel the thing going in. So yeah, interesting. See, that's the thing. It's like that's the thing that's very inventive about this show, is that the different ways in which like the sort of abilities are vast, like across like different like ways of using them and stuff, and ways that you would never really think about. And again, like trying to figure out what skill that would be attributed to, I have no fucking clue. I wouldn't know. I mean, it's possible that wouldn't even be contributed to a skill, really, because it is connected to him by the wire. So I guess it's more of a case of like, that could just be a tool. You know what I mean? Like getting it into the back of his neck and then just, you know, deactivating his brain with some kind of, you know, like function that a tool would use. I guess that could also be the case, I suppose. But I think it is sort of making a point to not give away the powers of a lot of them, which I think is the same reason as to why Hisoka only knows 7 of them. He says it was 13, right? And I'm guessing that doesn't include him. Although, no, because he was sort of as a whole, wasn't he? So yeah, it might be 13, including him. Yeah, and he was saying that basically by replacing a member, you know, you can replace a member by killing that member. Or if they die from other circumstances, or I guess killed by somebody who doesn't want to replace them, then it's been selected by the chief, I suppose. Which is interesting. It makes me think that if you want to replace a member, it's done so like officially, like a duel kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like forcing them into a duel, like I'm taking your place kind of thing. I feel like that would be it, right? Yeah, interesting. So yeah, all of this sort of makes sense. So Dalzaline, the guy, when he was in there, and they immediately asked Uvo, it's like, "Where's the auctioned goods?" I was like, "Oh fuck!" It's like he didn't know, but he was also given the information that there's possibly something going down, which means that yeah, there is something like taking place where the sort of the higher ups in the hierarchy of the mafia got to have something to do with the 10 Dons, considering the fact that the Shadow Beast was one of them that took the auction goods out, and obviously they know more than actually what is going on. But like that's one of the questions I had, where it was like, I don't see why it would be like advantageous for them to guard like You know what I mean? Like they sent Beze and everyone and like Kurapika to like on lookout and stuff like that to essentially like guard the place for when the auction goods were about to be stolen because they thought that something was going down. But if the goods were already gone and they were aware of it, there was no real reason for them to be where they were. So yeah, that answered my question, which is basically that they weren't told. And I think at this point, I think Beze is, I think she's dead. I think she's just gone. I don't see her coming back now. But who knows? Who the fuck knows? And yeah, Dolstein's dead now, so that's great. You know, I fucking knew. I mean, I wasn't even looking for them to be dressed up as mafia. I was looking for them like to all be puppeted. You know what I mean? That was what was in my head. But yeah, I was completely fucking wrong. And yeah, I wouldn't. Right, so. Back with Hisoka as well, so he's talking to Kurapika and he's basically saying that, you know, the same reason, like, because I want to fight the chief because, you know, he's that powerful and stuff and it turns him on and all that good stuff that we already know about him. But also the fact that he's also accompanied by 2 members at all times, which is, I mean, again, that could be one or two things. It could either be the fact it could be either be the fact that he's more of a tactician and he's not all that much of a fighter, which is interesting considering the fact that I'm pretty sure he's a specialist. That was one of the opening things where it went round the thing. You had the silhouettes of like some people that were attributed to that skill. So it's just dependent on exactly how a specialist works in regards to that, and I imagine the first time we're ever going to actually see what a specialist can do is when it ends up with a fight with him, because it's I mean, it's got to, right? It's a numbered fucking group that you're going to go through like one at a time, take them all out until the chief does come out, and then it's like, you know, it'll be like towards the end of an arc fighting him, and then we'll see exactly what specialists can do. But anyway, yeah, back to the point, like, I don't know, depending on what a specialist can do, he might not be that much of a fighter more than a sort of like a tactical sort of strategist, using it in different ways, I don't know, and that's why he has 2 members always accompanying him. Or the idea is that if something did happen, that he would make sure that they fought first so that he doesn't give away like his way of fighting, you know. It could be one or the other, and I mean, I feel like it's more, see, it could be any one of them, because by having 2 members there, it means that if his sort of specialist power works better with like accompanying other Nen users, and maybe like strengthening their way of like whatever their skill is, then maybe it's like, it could be something like that. But I don't know. I mean, it could be anything. There's no way to know. I think, but it's obviously on purpose, you know what I mean? The guy's obviously, I mean, he just sits there and sort of essentially just reads, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't give anything away, so yeah, interesting. And the last thing is when Kurapika came and, you know, to talk to Hisoka, whatever, Hisoka's throwing down cards, and obviously Kurapika like uses his 10, like, you know, builds up that sort of that barrier. And Kurapika mentioned that he's not using in, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's the same thing as what he used in that corridor against Gon and Killua before they even learned 10 and stuff. So I don't know if it's that or what, but we haven't had an explanation as to what really in is, you know, or if it's just like a projection of you know, of ill intent, which I thought that's what it was anyway, which seems more in line with what Hatsu is, but I you know, I don't know. I don't know, and if I have missed it, I apologise. Just let me know down in the comments as well. But yeah, that's all I've got. So great. I don't know where we go. I don't know where we go now, because Dolzaline was in charge of that group of sort of employees that were, doing this job, and at the same time sort of making sure that the mansion in which Neon is in is protected. Kurapika at this point, I mean, I don't know. Who did they go see? Like, who could they possibly go to because no one's giving them orders anymore. I don't think they have any reason to really stay at the mansion, other than that one guy, the guy who, the darker skinned guy. He's got like the ponytail or whatever. Yeah, because I don't think any of the other ones, I don't think have any real allegiance to. They're just basically in it to sort of help themselves out for their like goals in the future. So I don't know where we go concerning that. But yeah, there's definitely some other things at play. Like there's the likes of Dolzaline. I don't know if that is just the Nostrade family, or like a lot of like the families that are sort of on the same level as the Nostrade family that just haven't been told, and it's only the higher ups that know. I'd be interested to see whether or not the father, Neon's father, knows about it. Because he's been like, basically it was worded in a previous episode that he was using Neon's powers as a way for him to like sort of gain influence and stuff like that. So I don't know how high he is in the hierarchy, if he was high enough to know about what was going on with the auction and whatnot. But I don't know. But yeah, that was all I got for this episode. So yeah, it's a really good episode. Yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. In the description below, I've linked to certain things. One of them is the Discord. If you want any information regarding my content at all, you can get yourself over there. You can also come talk to me at the community as well. And Patreon as well. So I do have a Patreon. If you do want to support me, that would be very much appreciated. There's a bunch of different tiers and rewards depending on how much you want to support me with. So there's like early access there. That gives you access to shows a week early, and you get 4 episodes of Hunt x Hunt every week, as opposed to the usual 2 that only YouTube viewers get. And yeah, there's the full length there. Even though a lot of these have all, they're just full length anyway. That will go back again, as I say every time. That will go back to normal eventually. But as of right now, just enjoy the full length as is. And there's other things there. For like requesting certain shows you want me to react to and things like that. Just have a look at them yourself. The link is down in the description below. But that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.